You guys have been asking me for little Lexus updates on the channel, and I've had this in my backlog for a couple weeks now, and I want to thank one of my followers and members of the channel, Kelvin, for reminding me and giving me this awesome render and screenshots from the latest MagX magazine, their scoop site from Japan. Not quite as popular or as knowing in some ways as Best Car magazine, which we reference quite often here on the channel. MagX sometimes has some nuggets that Best Car either knows and they're not ready to share, or maybe they have something that Best Car doesn't have. And I think that might be the case here with the new Lexus HZ, as well as the IS news that is all wrapped up into this HZ article. Yes, we're going to talk about where the IS is going in the near future and what this next-gen battery electric vehicle from Lexus is going to be. It's probably this HZ. So grab your snacks and drinks, and if you are excited, smash the heck out of that like button. We should have some exciting things coming from Lexus by the end of the year. Maybe we get a production design of this HZ by the end of the year. You know, when I was just at the Lexus GX driving event in Arizona, enjoying some sake and sushi with maybe some of the Lexus employees there. I'm not going to name any names, but I'm always trying to see if I can get any nuggets, right? They're trained very well not to share any information that hasn't been officially released yet. But I'm like, hey, gosh, when am I going to see you guys next? And I'm like, there's nothing planned for the year. She's like, we'll keep it a surprise. So take that with a grain of salt, however you want to see it. But I think we could see some information on this HZ by the end of 2024. All right. So let's get into the nitty gritty here. No, this is the render that I came up with. It is sharing some things with the RZ, and it is sharing some things with the LFZC, which I detailed for you guys when I was in Japan with David Chow at the Japan Mobility Show in October. And that car was outstanding. The design was so futuristic, and maybe Lexus dials it back a little bit for this. I would rather have the LFZC stylings because this render just is too vanilla for me, in my opinion. It's just not good enough, but this is just their rendering, so it's not going to look like this. So anyways, what are they saying about this vehicle? Thanks to the power of the Google Translates, let's go ahead and start reading about this new battery electric vehicle, but not only that, how it affects the IS as well as we go into an electrified era. Lexus wants to be fully battery electric in the most volume size markets for them by 2030. So that's the United States or North America, that's China, as well as Europe. And then everywhere else in the world, they'll be fully battery electric by 2035. All right. So this first page doesn't have a lot of information. They talk about the limitations of the current IS. You know, essentially the IS as we know it has been around since 2013. Yes, in 2020, when they gave it that nice refresh for the 2021 model year with new styling, it felt like it was the same IS underneath. It felt like it drove the same. When I talked to some Lexus engineers, they said, you know, it's actually more similar to the discontinued GS at this point than it was the old IS. And they did that so they could fit the V8 in there. Remember, we hadn't seen a V8 since the ISF since, what, 2012, 2014, somewhere in there, because the ISF may have lived on an extra year or two. You know, they mentioned the GS was abolished in 2020. Rest in peace. We're going to get into the next page because that's where most of this information gets pretty spicy, pretty exciting. We know Lexus is 100% coming out with a new sedan based off the LFZC concept in 2026, using gigacasting, using next-gen e-motors or e-axles, you could say, with inverters built into them, and using next-gen batteries. That's all happening in 2026. And the LFZC, they're saying, hey, with its dimensions, it's essentially the same segment as the IS. So it makes sense that the LFZC, whatever they call it, let's just call it the HZ for now. The HZ would be the spiritual successor to the IS, and it was logical that the IS would just be killed. Now, the HZ, it's been trademarked for 300E, which is going to be more than likely a rear-wheel drive only entry-level variant. You're going to have a 450e, which is probably going to be dual motor, and we see 450 with the RZ, right? The RZ has 300 horsepower. So if the 300e, let's say that has over 200 horsepower, 450e has 300 horsepower plus. Now there's also a range topping 550e that's been trademarked as well. That will probably have dual motor 400 horsepower, somewhere around there. Going back to the GAL platform, this has been scrapped. They're not going to make a new IS on the GAL platform. That platform was built with the purpose of the high-end vehicles like the LC and the LS. And unfortunately, Toyota was a little short-sighted with that platform. They haven't been able to do really anything else with it outside of maybe the Mirai sharing that platform, and also the new Crown Sport. They've been able to, or not the Crown Sport, the Crown Sedan over in Japan, using a two-motor hybrid setup for that. Here's the big question that a lot of you guys wanted to know, so let's get into the big reveal here, and I think this is going to be the case. So what will happen to the IS, which is in the same class as this HZ battery electric vehicle based off the LFZC? They said it will not be abolished in exchange, meaning they're not going to come out with this HZ and discontinue the IS, which a lot of us would think. No, they're going to offer two vehicles at the same time. One, the IS that we know and love, except it's going to be updated. And then they're also going to offer the HZ on an all-new platform, kind of like the flagship until they come out with something bigger, more expensive, but it's going to be super efficient. Now, it makes sense to me because the IS has been discontinued in Australia and other markets due to its lack of safety. There's something to do with the structure of the vehicle that doesn't meet the safety regulations of certain markets. So with that being said, introducing the HZ while keeping the IS still alive and giving customers choice is genius, especially here in North America, but it's going to be big for them over in markets that have an appetite for high performance internal combustion as well as high performance battery electric. Now they're saying that this IS is going to get another refresh in 2025 and will incorporate the latest design motifs, including the letters Lexus placed on the rear end. So they're getting rid of the Lexus logo. All right, guys, after reading about some of that design, some light bulbs starting to go off, and I'm heading down speculation station here big time, and let's get into it. So back in 2021, when Akio Toyota showed this battery electric vehicle lineup, we knew we had some good stuff coming. This vehicle in the middle, the sports BEV concept, that's going to require solid state batteries, a new platform. That's not coming till maybe 2030. But we had the TZ, but in the back we had the TX, we had the refreshed IS, we had the new RX, we had the LBX there, we had even the TZ, which will be announced here. Actually, you know, that's the one thing Lexus is probably going to announce, right? The TZ, this battery electric 3-row by the end of the year. Could they announce a new IS? Well, I actually do think this is the new IS, and I don't think this is a battery electric vehicle. Now, it's not going to be as grandiose, I don't think, as having a wagon, maybe a hatchback, definitely not the convertible. Well, do I want all this? Absolutely, to the moon and back, but I think they're just caught between an interesting place. They wanted this IS to be fully battery electric, but in the form we see it right here, it's based off the ETNGA platform, which this is the ETNGA platform is shared with this car. And I think Lexus knows that that would be a waste of money and a stain on the brand. The RZ is already not the right vehicle for the brand and their electrification future. It's not even good enough for a first attempt. And so if they came out with the IS, sharing the exact same platform and its limitations with the new IS, this new IS would be a flop as well outside of design. So what I think they're going to do is use this IS design here, maybe just keep it with the sedan and not do all the other crazy variations. And they're going to make this IS now here. Now, is it possible we could have this big of a departure for just a short run, a 5 to 6 model year run? of the new IS with internal combustion engine powertrains? It's possible, but this is definitely the direction that they want to go for the HZ. This is the LFZC. And the IS here, my gosh, they cannot let this beautiful design be wasted. And so this new refresh, maybe it's a redesign, but they don't have a new platform, so it's just going to be a reskinned IS, and that's what we'll have here down below. But if you look at the door handles, they're sucked in. If you look at the door creases, they're different from the one up here. So it will be interesting to see how close they can get to this design down below. And like the article said, that they said that the new Lexus IS would not have the Lexus logo, instead it would be typed out in the back. Now the front of this IS is, look how much air that can pass through here. So I think they'll still be able to cool down the internal combustion engines with this next gen design. Now, if we look at some of the old best car mags, they still think that there's going to be a hatchback, which could be the case. I'm not saying it's a zero possibility, but they didn't know even then if the IS was going to be fully battery electric or if it was going to have internal combustion engine powertrains. Well, you can almost chalk it up at this point that the new IS and coming in 2025, maybe as a 2026 model year, is going to be this model right here, and it's going to have internal combustion engine powertrains more than likely. Again, that's my speculation station going deep right now. And yeah, it's these two vehicles. Again, don't know if we're going to get a hatchback, but it would be amazing to see this sort of IS design come into the new IS with internal combustion engines. And then we have the new HZ, this guy right here, and it'll be modified, of course. The LFZC will be modified from this design, but the general feel of this vehicle is not going to change a whole lot with the LFZC. Now we can probably call this the HZ. They don't know exactly in the powertrains. They're saying the V6 was discontinued. Now, the V6 was discontinued for Japan. We still have it in the base 300 all-wheel drive, as well as the 350 rear-wheel drive and the 350 all-wheel drive. Now, the 8AR is still available here in North America as a rear-wheel drive IS 300, mated to an 8-speed auto. That could be discontinued as well with the 2025 model. It sounds like the 2UR V8 is going to live on. So you guys, pop your bottles, pop your champagne, long live the V8. The IS 500 is probably going to live on, at least from what they're saying. So take it with a grain of salt, but I'm going to hang my hat on that. And because I want it to happen so bad, I want the IS to keep the V8 as long as possible. Long live the IS 500. So they're saying that that is going to continue on more than likely with that last refresh of the IS from 2025. So it'll be a 2025, 2026 model year, and that will go all the way to 2030 and maybe beyond for certain markets. But it would be meeting its end in 2030 in the United States, the IS. And maybe they call that second generation BEV. They get rid of that HZ naming and they just call the next generation of that the IS, which is a possibility. And even in Japan, they want to keep that hybrid and V8 model. So I want to give you guys, I should probably pull up a spreadsheet and talk about what kind of powertrains we could see here. Now, currently the IS hybrid has a CVT. It's not good enough. Now, with the introduction of the new truck platform, the F platform, which is rear-wheel drive bias, of course, we got some cool new powertrains that could slot into this next-gen IS. Could they modify the IS enough by 2025 to stomach these powertrains? Who's to say? It's probably unlikely, but it is a possibility. So let's just go down through the possibilities. Let's talk about this. They could do this as well. Naturally aspirated inline-4 hybrid. Taking the 2.5 liter that they currently have, actually a more updated version of the 2.5 liter, because this is a dynamic force engine. Instead of the eCVT, we have an 8-speed auto, and this would give us 237 horsepower and 316 pound-feet of torque. It would be fantastic. You would get 30 miles per gallon or more in that IS while still giving awesome rear-wheel drive performance, potentially all-wheel drive performance as well. I would like to see in some markets, it could happen in the United States, that 2-liter 8AR engine hopefully gets replaced by the T24A FTS 2.4-liter turbo that we see in the NX and the RX. Now, it's not my favorite engine, but it would be a nice upgrade over what they currently have in the base rear-wheel drive IS. So 278 horsepower, 317 pound-feet of torque. Hopefully that would replace the old outgoing engine, which that's probably the most likely thing. I wouldn't be surprised if the V6 goes and they just put this in here, right? They did that with the Highlander, they did that with the RX. Now we could also see a performance range topping hybrid here. If we look at the Hybrid Max or the iForce Max in the new J250 Land Cruiser, it's in the new Tacoma Hybrid or iForce Max. It's taking that turbocharged engine, keeping the 8-speed auto, putting about a 50 horsepower electric motor in there with lots of torque. And the problem is this adds more weight to the IS. So it'll be pretty hefty. Fuel economy will go down, but you do get a lot of horsepower and torque as a result. I don't see this happening. I think it's just too complex for the IS. Now, are they going to stuff a twin turbo V6 in there? Well, that's what our hopes were for a long time. It looks like they're just going to say, hey, screw that. We got to, long live the 2UR 5-liter V8. They're going to keep that in there with almost 500 horsepower. So there you go. There's a quick rundown of the IS. IS is likely to live on, and I know a lot of you are going to be excited about that. And then you have your choice with the same size of vehicle with the next-gen battery platform with the HZ. I hadn't talked about it, but we had the HS, and the HS was kind of like the Lexus Prius, in the early 2010s. It was a fail for the company. It was really expensive, it was really slow, and it wasn't very efficient, and it wasn't very pretty either. Now, I know some people who swear by that old HS. I wouldn't be spending my money on one. We haven't seen any other vehicle start with an H before besides the HS. So this is maybe the spiritual successor of what the HS was, right? Because the HS came into the market as the first electrified sedan, I guess, for the masses. They had the GS electric vehicle for a while, which was more of a performance hybrid. But this is probably going to be the more mass market sedan like the HS probably was designed to be, but it never panned out. But yeah, here we go. Kind of like Acura using the ZDX all over again, Lexus using the H nomenclature all over again with the HZ. It is trademarked 300E, 450E, 500E. This will be coming in 2026, and we should be getting it launched probably alongside. Actually, maybe the IS gets a refresh a year before this comes out, so that could be next year. So I can't wait. I love the IS. Hopefully, we eventually get wagons and coupe convertibles of the new battery electric platform. But in the meantime, it's going to be awesome to have your choice between a sedan with a gasoline powered powertrains, maybe hybrids as well, and your choice of the new HZ with electrified powertrains, new platform, new technology, software defined, gigacasting. I don't know if I talked about that, but it's going to be gigacasted, next gen batteries, big range, big technology. It's going to be so much fun, and you're going to have your choice. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the comments. Long live the IS, long live the Lexus sports sedan, even though the GS is no longer with us. And we're taking a new page into the future while still having what's familiar and what works alongside of it with the IS. Thanks, guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.